this computer. Let's see if I'm going live here. Oh, I am live. It says meeting is now streaming live. Hello, ladies. Hello, hello. I hope that you are well. We are jumping on today to talk all about the metabolism. So I called this Metabolism 1-on-1 and the consequences of energy imbalances. I could have said the consequences of chronic dieting, but that is the topic today. And I'm just giving everybody a couple of minutes to jump on. Oh, there we are live, perfect. And I've got my phone here watching me live while I'm live, so that I can see you guys and see if you have any questions for me as I go through this. And what we're gonna be talking about today is I'm going to go through 3 different things with you today. I'm going to start by explaining what the metabolism is. I'm just going to start by defining what it is. And once we've defined it, once we've created a little bit of a definition of what it is, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain why, when we think of the metabolism like strictly in terms of a set number of calories, that can be problematic, especially if you're looking to lose weight or gain weight, whatever your current goal is. And then of course, because I don't like just giving information, I like to give you guys practical strategies as well. At the end, we're going to dive into some of the different things that you can do to really manipulate your metabolism, because that's what this is all about. I want you guys to understand that you can 100% manipulate your metabolism and optimize your metabolism in order to reach your goals. I'm not sure if you guys caught my live that I talked about yesterday. I was talking about the 3 Ps of weight loss. And the 3 Ps were practices, physiology, and physical goals. And what I described in that is that a lot of women think that if they change their practices, they'll reach their physical goals. But oftentimes we're forgetting that 3rd P, the physiology. And so what we need to understand is that our practices affect our physiology, and it is our physiology that affects our goals. Right? So we need those 3 pieces of the puzzle. And today I'm going to show you one example. I mean, there's so many different ways that this applies, but today we're specifically going to be looking at how our practices influence our metabolism. So that aspect of our physiology. So we're going to dive in. I have got a little PowerPoint presentation because I want to show you guys some graphs. So I'm going to be switching over to sharing my screen with you. But if you do have questions, I do have, again, my phone right here. I'm watching my live as I'm live. And so if you have any questions, you can post them and I will go in and make sure to find those so that I know what questions you have. And before I keep going, as always, I would love it for you to let me know if you are watching this live or catching the replay. So if you're watching it live, put live in the comments right now. Give me a hello, tell me where you're from. And if you are watching this on a replay, just put a replay in the comments as well. That would be fantastic. And just so you know why I'm always asking you to do this as well. Number 1, I want to know who's seeing this and if it's of interest. And number 2, every time that you comment on my videos, Facebook sends it to more of our members. And so you commenting can help another woman in this group, which is pretty cool. So I would ask you all to please participate and please comment, because I'm going to be asking you some questions and I would love to see the comments blow up on this little workshop today. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Where is it? There it is. So I'm going to share that. From beginning. Yep. Okay. So hopefully you can see my lovely screen here. for those of you who maybe this is the first time that you're watching one of my workshops, just so you know, I do these, I'm trying to do them every second week. They take a lot of time for me to prepare, but I do try and do them every second week to give you guys as much information as I can. And in case you're wondering who I am, so you know I'm Haley, but I'm also a nutrition coach as well as a personal trainer. And the information that I'm giving you today is directly from my education, from what I learned studying with precision nutrition, studying with Dr. Jade Tita, who specializes in female fat metabolism. And so that's where this information is coming from, in case you're wondering like where this is coming from. And so again, today we're talking Metabolism 101, and we're talking about the consequences of chronic dieting. Okay, I want to take it there because I feel like that is sort of something that I'm noticing sometimes inside this group. Okay, so what on earth is your metabolism? Let's start with that. So you can think of your metabolism as the total amount of energy required for each of your physiological actions. So this is literally everything you do, like everything from chewing your food, digesting your food, having your food get processed and absorbed, breathing, walking, doing exercise, mowing the lawn, chopping your vegetables, like fidgeting, like everything that you do, that is the total energy required. That is your metabolism. And I want to show you guys, I'm sorry that the photo on the right is a little bit blurry. I had to kind of really blow it up to show you this, but I want to show you how your metabolism breaks down. And I'm not going to get like super geeky sciencey here, but it's really important. There's a couple of things that I really want to point out here. And I feel like explaining these 4 components and giving you this diagram is really going to help with that. So when you're looking at the diagram on the right, this is showing you sort of what your metabolism, how these different components are broken down. And you can see that on the left-hand side, it says TDEE, which refers to total daily energy expenditure, or your metabolism. Okay, this is your metabolism. This is what it's composed of. So if we start at the very top, where it says eat, that is actually exercise, activity, thermogenesis. Okay, so this is purposeful, like when you are purposefully choosing exercise, you're going to your spin class, you're going to CrossFit, you're going out for a run, you're doing your strength training, your HIIT, your Metcons, whatever it may be, that is part of your metabolism. That is part of how much energy your body needs. I want to point out that it is only 5% of your total metabolism. Now, when it comes to wanting to lose weight, everything counts, and I 100% want women to be, regularly exercising, but I do want you to remember that it is 5% of your total metabolism, which means that there's a whole other 95% that you can focus on in order to manipulate your metabolism. Okay, so I just want to point that out because I think it's really important. The second one, which is TEF, and that refers to the thermic effect of feeding, which basically means that the simple act of eating food revs up your metabolism. And that makes perfect sense because when you eat, your body has to work hard. It has to work hard. It has to digest all the food. It has to chop it up. And then as it moves into your intestines, then there's all these chemical reactions that are happening and hormones that are getting produced in order for that food to get absorbed into your bloodstream where you can actually use it as energy. So anytime you eat, you are increasing your metabolism. And there are certain foods that have a higher thermic effect. And that's one of the strategies we're going to talk about at the very end, okay? The next one down called NEAT. So that is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, okay? That is 15% of your metabolism. That's a pretty good number. And this is something that women oftentimes don't really appreciate. or don't really think that it actually counts. But neat is everything. It's like everything that you do, going to the grocery store, making food, tapping your foot, you know, going up and down stairs, mowing the lawn, doing some gardening, all of the movement that you do in your day, that is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Now, it can be up to 15% of your metabolism. Now, this is going to totally depend on who you are and what you do. Obviously, a woman who spends most of her time sitting on her couch on the weekend will not be having as much of an impact on her metabolism as the woman who's gardening and then goes grocery shopping and cleans her house. But, you know, I say this to my clients, it's like when you're cleaning the house, you're doing your workout because you are revving up your metabolism just by all the small movements that you do in a day. So these all count. Now, the last one on that list, notice the big chunk at the bottom. This is the most important part of your metabolism that I want you to understand about. And this is your basal metabolic rate. Your basal metabolic rate. So this is, if you can imagine that you were lying in bed, not doing a thing, not eating, not watching TV, you're just lying in bed. This is how many calories you're burning. This is your basal metabolic rate. So it is just all of the hormonal reactions, all of the, you know, your breathing, your just all of the requirements of just staying alive, protein synthesis. Like there's so many things that are going on. 70% of your metabolism is your BMR. And I really want you to pay attention to that 70% because this part of your metabolism, this is where things can go wrong. This is where, when I said your practices influence your physiology, this is the majority. This is 70%. And so what you choose to do, how you choose to eat, it can either make this 70% chunk work for you or against you. And we're going to be diving into that. Before we dive into it, I know that some of you might be wondering, okay, well, that's all great, Haley, but how on earth do I figure out my own total daily energy expenditure or my own, you know, metabolism, like how much energy I'm expending? So there's a ton of different calculations that you can look up. And some of them will give you your total metabolism. So something that includes these 4 components. A lot of them will break it down. So BMR, or a different one called RMR, which is resting metabolic rate. And resting metabolic rate is basically BMR plus the thermic effect of feeding kind of together. You can think of it in that way. So there's different ways of calculating it. For my calorie counters that are out there, what I want you to understand is that a couple of things. So number one, all of these different calculations that exist to help you understand how much energy your metabolism produces, they are simply estimates. They are nothing more than estimates. And if your metabolism is functioning optimally, like you're doing everything right, these estimates can still be off by 10%, which means that I've got these numbers down. I have to refer to my notes. If not, I'm going to forget. But let's say your calculation, wherever you get it from, it says that your resting metabolic rate is 1,700 calories a day. That means it could actually be anywhere between 1,530 calories a day and 1,870 calories a day. So you can see, like, that is a huge gap, right? And this is one of the reasons that I do not like I never get my clients to count calories. I don't do calorie counting. I know a lot of other fit pros that I work with do it. I do not do it. And this is why. It's because it's so varied and it's so inaccurate, really. And then on top of that, if you have some kind of metabolic compensation or metabolic damage going on for various reasons, that number can be off by as much as 43%. 43%, that is huge. And so what I like to do with my clients, instead of giving them a specific number of calories, I like to just teach them to eat the right foods to help them stay satiated as much as possible, and then to help them tune into their hunger and tune into their satiety and use that, like really go back to trusting your body, because it does know what to do. It is constantly telling you what to do. We've just forgotten to start listening to it. Now, one thing that I would say to the women out there who do track their calories, like now that you kind of understand how your metabolism is broken down into these different portions, I'm going to give you some homework. I want you to go into your app and figure out what it is calculating. What is it telling? Like, where is it getting this number from? Most of them will show you what this is. They're all going to be slightly different, but you need to figure this out, and you need to figure out how you're going to set it. Because if you're saying on MyFitnessPal and it is giving you your BMR, and let's say your BMR is, I don't know, 1,400 calories, but it's not factoring in non-exercise activity thermogenesis, thermic effective food, and exercise, then you are going to be chronically under eating, because you're missing 30% of your caloric intake. So it's really, really important for you to go into your settings and make sure that you have a good understanding of what it is calculating, especially if you are exercising, especially if you're an active woman, because you are never going to get results if you're not understanding where these numbers are coming from. Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there. All right, so let's move on. I'm going to turn the page on my notes. Okay, so metabolism and weight loss. So it's a lot more complicated than calories in, calories out. So again, just understanding that your metabolism is, again, it's the total energy that your body needs every single day to function based on what you're doing, okay? And so, for example, my total metabolism might be 2,000 calories on any given day. Remember, this is going to change. It's going to change based on what I'm eating. It's going to change based on my activity levels. So this is just like a snapshot, like a day in the life. Let's say it's 2,000 calories. So theoretically speaking, right? Like I'm sure you guys have heard about the theory of calories in, calories out, right? Theoretically speaking, if I want to lose weight and my body requires 2,000 calories, there are two things I can do in order to lose weight. I can either eat less than my body needs, right? By just creating a caloric deficit that way, or I can do more activity and I can expend more than my body needs. But regardless, the point is I need to create a negative energy imbalance in order to lose weight, theoretically speaking, right? And so, and I'm sure you've heard this before too, and this is again what a lot of the apps are referring to when they're giving you like your predicted weight loss. There is this sort of, I don't know, I'm not going to call it a myth, because theoretically speaking, it makes sense, but there's this sort of belief that if you, for instance, cut your calories or create a caloric deficit of 500 calories, either by eating less or moving more or doing some combination of the two. So 500 calories every single day, you do that for 7 days, you should be losing 1 pound. Okay, that is what the science or the math works out to be. But if this is true, why is it that so many women are not getting results? Okay, why is this? Why is this happening? So I want to hear from you right now before I move on. How many of you are already doing this? How many of you are intentionally creating a caloric deficit to lose weight and you're not getting results? I want you to put not getting results in the comments. How many of you are either, maybe you're exercising more in order to create that caloric deficit and you're not getting results? You're not seeing that scale move. So I want you to put that in the comments again. Scale not moving, so that I know, okay? Why are you not losing weight? So what it boils down to is that your metabolism is not a simple calculator. It doesn't work that way. It's a very complex chemistry set. And I really want to help you guys understand that today, because I think that it will completely change the way that you approach weight loss. That is my hope for you. I mean, I've talked about these things in different ways. At some point, I'm hoping that I can explain it to you in a way that will suddenly click. I really want you guys to have this aha moment where you're like, oh my God, now I understand it. So I'm going to try and explain it again. I really hope this makes sense. I hope it resonates. I hope that you understand the complexity of your metabolism from this. Okay, so you are not losing weight because your metabolism is adaptive, okay? I'm just looking at my notes here, making sure I'm not forgetting something. Okay, so basically what that boils down to, and I said this at the beginning, is that if you try and give like your metabolism a set number, right, which is exactly what all those apps do, is they give you a set number. But it's ridiculous because, again, your metabolism is adaptive. It is not just running at the same levels every single day. Sometimes it might be 1,400 calories. Sometimes it might be 2,000 calories. Sometimes it might be 2,500 calories, depending on what you're doing. Yet these apps and this whole sort of theory of calories in, calories out is all based on one simple number. But again, your metabolism is adaptive. It is constantly changing, constantly. And you have to kind of think back to, you have to sometimes think that like our metabolism, like this is like, it doesn't care about the bikini. It doesn't care about the dress size. It is, your metabolism is always trying to protect you. And it's trying to protect you against a chronic energy imbalance. So that could be eating too much, or it could be eating not enough. But regardless, your body is always trying to match energy in and energy out. It does not like it when you're eating not enough food or when you're eating too much food. And it's going to do what it can to adapt to what you're doing. That's what your metabolism is. It's like, it's constantly analyzing, and this happens in the brain, but gets like related down or transferred down to everything else in your body. But it's like constantly analyzing what is going on in your environment, what you are doing, how you're eating, what you're doing for exercise, and it's adjusting. So when your body, this is where I want to kind of tie it back to chronic dieting or chronic negative energy imbalances. But when your body senses a negative energy imbalance, so this is when there's like more calories going out than calories coming in, it's going to slow down your metabolism. And it does that by slowing down your BMR. Remember, that is the 70% chunk that I told you is really, really important when you're trying to understand your entire metabolism, right? So that big chunk, your BMR, when you are chronically restricting your calories, that is going to slow down because, again, your metabolism is adaptive. There's a couple of ways that it's going to do this. Number one is thyroid, okay? And I've talked about this before, but your thyroid, if you're new to this, or if this is one of the first workshops that you're watching, your thyroid controls your metabolism. And so your thyroid determines like how fast or how slow your metabolism is going. And I won't get into the complexities of the thyroid because that's a whole other workshop, but understand that your body can slow down thyroid production if it wants to slow down everything that your body is doing. And so when women have a slower thyroid, they might have slower digestion, constipation, hair loss, brittle nails. They might get funky sex hormones, like they might have like less progesterone, less estrogen, less testosterone, less DHEA. Your body's going to do everything that it can in order to slow down, again, that basal metabolic rate, which is just, if you remember, it is just what you need to survive, to stay alive. So it slows everything down and you get tired and you have less energy and you're fatigued all the time. So that's part of it. And the other part of it is that you will start to have a decline in muscle mass. And I won't go into too much of the geeky science here, but you need to understand that, again, when there's less calories coming in than there are going out, and suddenly your body is like, okay, we need 2,000 calories. She's only given us 1,500 calories. We've got to find the extra 500 calories somewhere, right? Like your body has to do that before it slows down. It's got to find those calories from somewhere. And so what it's going to do is there's a couple of different things that can happen. So it can go and find excess calories in your liver, because your liver stores glycogen, which is the storage form of carbohydrates. So it can use those up. It can potentially go and also get extra calories in your fat cells. And that's what we all hope for, theoretically. We're like, okay, sweet, okay, yeah, take all the fat you want from my fat cells. And, you know, we all have plenty of fat on our bodies that we could use as that extra energy. What happens is that a lot of times the body can't access the fat in our fat cells. It can't access it. And we'll have to talk about that. That is called metabolic flexibility. We've got a whole other workshop on that coming up. But the body loses its ability to get into those fat cells and get that storage fat. And when it's depleted liver glycogen and it can't get into the fat cells, it has only one more option, which is to go after the protein in your muscle. And then you start losing muscle mass, and that is going to slow down your metabolism. And so for the women out there, I know there's a couple of you that are wanting to build muscle mass. So I'm here to tell you, if you are like, there's a potential that if you're chronically restricting your calories, it's going to be really hard to build muscle mass, because your body might be actually going after that muscle mass. Okay. So that being said, now that you understand that, what I want you to understand is that even though you're on it, so let's say again, so your body is trying to find these 500 calories, missing calories, or however many it may be, but eventually it's going to be like, you know what, screw it. Let's just slow down the metabolism. Let's just slow it all down, right? That BMR. And so what happens is that you may be on a diet, but it is going to get harder and harder and harder for you to lose weight, because you basically have to continually push on your metabolism. So let's say you started off at 2,000, you dieted down to 1,500. Your body has now down-regulated to 1,500, so you go to 1,200. Your body down-regulates to 200, so you start doing spin classes 5 times a week. Can you see how this is just like, it's like this vicious cycle of your body constantly adapting to what you are doing? And this is a thing to listen to, especially if you're one of my like 1,200 calorie ladies out there. The research suggests that this adaptive physiology, this is like, it's the largest decrease in BMR happens when you're eating 1,200 calories or less. So this is why I never recommend to my ladies to do 1,200 calories chronically, okay? And we're going to talk about that when we get to how to optimize your metabolism. Because I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying don't do it every day. Now, there is some good news. And the good news is that your metabolism adapts in both directions, because it is adaptive, right? So if you undereat chronically, it will adapt down, but you can build your metabolism back up. You can optimize it, you can manipulate it, which is super cool. So I'm going to stop sharing right actually, and I'm going to come back to just me here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to finish off by just diving into the different ways that you can optimize your metabolism. So how can you manipulate it? How can you make it work towards your goals, right? So this is the part that everybody wants to learn about. So I'm just going to quickly look at the comments here. Manipulate it. How can you make it work? So let's see who's here. I've got Sandra, Zahida, Lori, Amanda, Karen, Michelle. Awesome. Thank you for being here. Do you have any questions so far on what I have talked about? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions on just sort of what I've explained so far. Did that resonate? Does it make sense? If it does, give me a thumbs up in the comments. That would be awesome. And let's move into our strategies, and I'll keep an eye on the comments as I do that. Okay. So strategy number one is to really optimize your basal metabolic rate. So that's like that big 70% chunk that I was talking about, right? And so hopefully by now you recognize that eating less and moving more on a day-to-day basis, like chronically, is not the way to go about it. So what do we do instead? So obviously I'm talking more to the women that are chronically restricting, right? Like if you're currently an overeater, right? If you're eating 500 calories more than your body needs, you need to create an energy. You need to stop eating as much, or you need to exercise more to like balance things out or get into that caloric deficit. Because again, you do need a caloric deficit in order to lose weight. That is still part of the equation, but you just have to do it in a very calculated way. And you have to do it in a way that you're outsmarting your body, because you do not want your body to adapt, okay? So we're gonna talk about different things. So first of all, for my ladies out there that are currently doing chronic caloric deficits every single day, like 1,200 calories every single day, what I want you to do, and this is gonna probably sound crazy, but you need to eat more and you need to exercise less, okay? You need to kind of reverse it, right? Like you want your body to go in reverse. You wanna actually move into a positive energy balance or imbalance. So you want to be eating more calories than your body is expending to force your metabolism to adapt upwards, because you got to adapt up before you can create a caloric deficit again, because you have nowhere left to go. So you got to adapt up before you can adapt down. And I did a whole training on this. It's called reverse dieting. If you missed that one and you want it, you can put a comment below, reverse dieting. I will get that link to you some point next week because I'm taking the afternoon off, but I will get that to you. But just understand that is that you need to, again, build up the metabolism so that you have somewhere to go. Now, once you have built up your metabolism, or for the ladies out there that already have a good metabolism and are like, okay, so how do I do this? How do I create a calculated caloric deficit and outsmart my body so that it doesn't adapt and downregulate? So there's a lot of different things you can do. So number one, diet variation. This is simple. This means do not do the same thing every single day. So if you're wanting to lose weight and you're tracking your calories and your macros, and I know for some women they love to do that, that's cool, no judgment. But what I do want you to do is not do the same thing every day. So, you know, maybe one day it's 1,200, maybe one day it's 1,600, maybe one day it's 1,800, maybe one day it's 2,100. When it comes to creating a caloric deficit, like a calculated caloric deficit, what you do each and every day does not matter. It's what you do on average over a week, a month, a year. That is what matters. But when you're doing these variations, when you're, you know, adding more calories, dropping them, adding them, dropping them, adding them, then what happens is that your body cannot adapt, because it takes time for your metabolism to adapt, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen on that day. It happens when you're doing it chronically. So if you have these days where suddenly you've got more calories and suddenly you've got less, your body is like, what is happening? I don't know. And it doesn't know what to expect the following day. So it never has a chance to adapt. And there's different ways of doing that. So one way of doing it is called diet breaks. And this is, I've talked about this one before, I believe, like probably a long time ago. So for a lot of you, this is probably going to be new, but there was this study done, it's called the Metabolic study. And essentially it was done on men. But I do believe that, you know, although men and women are different, you know, metabolically speaking, biologically speaking, we function pretty much in the same way. But essentially what they did in this study is they separated the men into two different groups. And half of the men went on a chronic deficit, like a chronic caloric deficit for, I can't remember what it was, 12 weeks, for example. And then the other half of the men took diet breaks. So they did 2 weeks of chronic deficit, 2 weeks off, where they went back to maintenance. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And so for 2 weeks, they had less calories. For 2 weeks, they had more. So as you can imagine, like I said, the metabolism doesn't adapt overnight. It takes time. Some believe 7 to 10 days is what it takes for the metabolism to fully adapt to what you're doing. So if you can imagine, during the 2 weeks that they're chronically restricting calories, they see weight loss, right? But their metabolism adapts. They go back to maintenance. Their metabolism adapts. They go back to chronic caloric deficit, their metabolism adapts. But the results that came out of this study is that, number one, the two groups lost about the same amount of weight, which is like, okay, that's awesome. Number two, and this is the important part here, is that the men who took diet breaks, they did not gain the weight back. The people who did the chronic caloric restriction, they gained it back. It's called rebound weight gain. And if you think of it, it makes perfect sense, because if you go on a diet and your metabolism comes all the way down and adapts down, and then you go on holidays or you reach your goal weight or you fall off the bandwagon, for whatever reason, you stop creating that caloric deficit and suddenly you go back to overeating, well, there's going to be a period of time where you're going to be gaining weight. And because you've got way more of an adjustment from where you're at to where you need to be, you're probably going to see that weight gain. And so this is just a technique to really help to, again, lose the weight, but avoid the weight gain. The other thing that you can do, which can be helpful, is refeeds. So again, you're always going to, whatever I'm telling you right now, it's all about diet variation. So it's all, again, about cycling your calories up and down. So refeeds could be where you sort of restrict your calories from Monday to Friday, but then on the weekend, you up your calories. And what it does is, again, it just signals to the body, hey, no, it's cool, we're not going into starvation, you can keep eating, right? So those are refeeds. That's another way of doing it. Reverse dieting, as I was mentioning, this is another way that you can manipulate your metabolism. And again, as I said, this is for the ladies who feel like they're already at that position where they're like, man, I'm already eating 1,200 calories and I'm working out and I'm not getting anywhere. The reverse dieting, again, I've got that link if you want that link to the video, but what you're doing is you're slowly increasing the amount of food that you're eating so that you're slowly building up your metabolism, and you're doing it in a way that you're trying to avoid weight gain or definitely minimize weight gain. Okay, the other one you can do is metabolic toggling, and this could be a totally different other workshop. But essentially, metabolic toggling is, again, it's all about confusing the metabolism, right? It's all about outsmarting your metabolism. And so there are 4 metabolic toggles. I've got to remember them because I get totally confused here. So there is eat more. Sorry, this is where I get confused. Eat less, move more. So that's the one we all know, right? That's the one that dieters love. Eat less, move more. Then, of course, there is eat more, move less, which is what we typically do when we go on vacation. Both of those create the biggest energy imbalance, right? So this is where the metabolism is probably going to adapt the most. There are 2 more. So there's eat less, move less, and then there's eat more, move more. So eat less, move less. This is like sort of like the very sort of like Parisian approach, you know, just like, you know, like you have small portions, you go for walks. And again, it's just one form of like playing or playing with your physiology. And then eat more, move more. This is like your athletes. This is like women who, you know, they're eating to perform. And they are basically doing so much exercise that they can eat way more food. And so this idea of metabolic toggling is that you can toggle between these different approaches. And in doing that, you're going to constantly keep the body guessing and it will never know what to do. I am a big fan of doing eat less, move less, and eat more, move more. And that's kind of what I do inside my program with my clients. I kind of toggle them. There are days when I get them to eat less, but on those days, I also ask them to exercise less. And then there are days when I'm getting them to eat more, but I'm also asking them to exercise more. But again, confusing the metabolism. Another thing I do with my clients is calorie cycling, which is similar to the diet breaks. Is just instead of doing it on a weekly basis, it's on a weekly basis, it's on a daily basis. So that's my preferred way of doing it. So I just pick certain days throughout the week where I get them to eat less calories. And again, it's because it's the average that is more important than what you're doing on a daily basis. And in doing that, I'm confusing the metabolism. It doesn't know what's happening. And then finally, thyroid support when it comes to manipulating your BMR. Really, 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 really important to think about your thyroid. Just eating enough food is going to help for sure. But for the ladies out there that have been diagnosed with hypothyroidism, really get on that, really get on it, and make sure that you're not normal, but that you're optimal. Get your numbers checked. If you're not feeling good, go back to your doctor. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for your thyroid and get that in check in order for you to lose the weight. All right, so that's the first strategy. Strategy number two, eat real food. Why does this matter? So you have to understand that your body needs certain nutrients. So it needs certain vitamins and certain minerals in order to take the food that you eat and transform it into energy. And so if you have nutrient deficiencies because you're eating a crappy diet and your body is lacking the vitamins and the minerals that it needs in order to turn the food that you're eating into energy, your body is still going to think that it's starving, even if you're eating a ton of food. And you may have heard this before, but a lot of people that are on the standard American diet that are eating a lot of sugar and a lot of processed and refined foods, they're eating a ton of food, but they're still hungry. Why are they still hungry? It's because their body is starving. Their body is unable to take that food and transform it into energy. And so they may be overweight. They may have plenty of energy on their body, but their body is starving. So making sure that you are eating real nutrient-dense food is really, really key. This is one of the reasons I don't like dirty keto. Okay, number three. So now we're moving into TEF, or thermic effect of feeding. So remember, that takes up about 10% of your metabolism. And what that refers to is the fact that when the simple act of eating food is going to increase your metabolism. And I told you that there are certain foods that have a greater thermic effect. Can anybody guess what it is? Anybody? Protein. You've heard me say it before. You're going to hear me say it again. You got to eat protein, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of protein. Minimum, I like to aim for a minimum of 90 grams a day. Even for my keto ladies, 90 grams a day. That is going to help you rev up your metabolism. In fact, if you are doing keto and you are not getting results, everything I just told you today is going to help. But you could also try swapping out your macros and shifting from about 15 to 20% of your calories from carbs to about 30% from protein to about 30% from protein, and just see if that pushes the needle in the right direction. Okay, strategy number 5, movement. So like I said, when it comes to exercise is just like that little 5% of your total metabolism. So I do want you to focus your attention on optimizing your BMR, but every little bit counts. So exercise and NEAT, or that non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that is going to be 20% of your total metabolic rate. So move as much as you can. Go out for a walk, do that, clean the house, stand up and just like shift your weight from side to side when you're watching Netflix. It doesn't matter what you do, but the more you move, the more your body is going to require energy, assuming that you're eating enough calories, of course, but movement is going to really help. And then the last thing I want to talk about is kind of like, I don't know how to categorize these, but I'm going to talk about metabolic flexibility, low carb, and strength training, and how those three can help you to manipulate your metabolism as well. So I'm going to start with metabolic flexibility. So metabolic flexibility, I kind of talked a little bit about it in the beginning, and like I said, I want to do a whole workshop on this, but metabolic flexibility is your body's ability to access your fat cells. And for a lot of women, the body can't do it anymore. Insulin is a big factor in why women can't access it, but just understand for now that women who are metabolically inflexible cannot access their fat stores. And you'll know if that's you, if you're like the woman, and I used to be this way, if you're that woman who needs to eat every 3 hours, or else you get hangry and shaky and dizzy and nauseated, and you just like, I used to be that woman. Like I said, I had food every 2-3 hours. I always had food in my purse. I had to have food with me at all times. I was metabolically inflexible, which means that when I didn't have a constant supply of food and my body ran out, it did not know how to get food from my fat cells. It did not know how to supply my body with energy. It was stuck. It was like, you either have to eat or we're just going to feel like crap, and we're going to be like sending you these signals. That is metabolic inflexibility. Now, what I like about the low carb, keto low carb approach is that it teaches women, or it teaches the metabolism to become more metabolically flexible. Because when you deplete glycogen stores, when you eliminate carbs from your diet, not completely, but when you eliminate a lot of them, it forces the body to go into this metabolic switch where now suddenly it has to be able to access the fat in your fat cells and turn that into energy, because it can't rely on carbohydrates, and the body really relies on carbohydrates. So when you get rid of the carbs, it has no choice. And so developing that metabolic flexibility, if you think about it, if you are metabolically flexible, you can get away with doing more caloric deficits and having less of an adaptation, because your body can access the fat a lot easier. It's when it can't access that fat, that's when it's going to become problematic. Now, when it comes to low carb, the other thing that I like about low carb is that, again, as I was explaining, when you eat more calories than your body needs, those calories get stored somewhere, and they can get stored as two different things. So they can get stored as lean tissue, and that would either be glycogen going to the liver or to the muscle mass, or it can be stored as fat tissue, which is when your excess energies get turned into triglycerides, which is the storage form of fat. Now, if you're eating tons and tons and tons and tons of carbs, your liver is full and your muscles will only take so many. And so all of those excess carbs are going to get turned into triglycerides and get stored as fat. Whereas if you are low carb and there's you've depleted the glycogen in your liver, when you eat excess calories, they're going to just go to your liver for when you need them. And so what I like about that is that on the days that my clients have more calories, I know that those calories aren't going to get turned into fat. They're just going to go and sit in the liver until they need them. And that's what I want, right? So that's just a little one there. And then I think that's it. Is there anything else? No, I think that's it. So there you have it. Any questions for me, ladies? I am taking a look at my comments. I hope that was helpful. I hope that helped you better understand how your metabolism works, how it can work either for you or against you, how your practices influence your metabolism, and why you need to understand how your metabolism is influenced and why you may not be reaching your goals. I really hope that explained it. I try to explain everything as simply as possible. But really understanding your metabolism and understanding that you do not need to restrict your calories day after day after day in order to lose weight. In fact, it probably will not work. That's my main message for women in this group. Amanda said, great information. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. Dark chocolate, good to eat? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'll have to do a little one on dark chocolate, but dark chocolate actually helps to, well, it depends what kind of dark chocolate. I do 70% or above, but it does trigger a hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin is like the love hormone, which women associate with, pregnancy and breastfeeding, but we still produce oxytocin far after that. And it's actually a really good hormone for balancing out cortisol levels. So eat up the dark chocolate. It is good for you. Any other questions for me, ladies? Any other questions? I don't see any other questions coming in. I'll wait another couple of minutes. While I'm waiting, again, if you're new to the group, this is your first workshop. If you do not know, I do have a program where I'm teaching you all of this. And I'm going to teach you how to make this, like how to implement it essentially, right? So how to lose weight and how to manipulate your metabolism, how to manipulate your hormones so that you can, how to manipulate your physiology, generally speaking, so that you can lose the weight. It's a 90-day program. It's called Perimenopause Body Solutions, and it is completely step-by-step. I tell you exactly what to eat. I tell you exactly how to train. I am there holding your hand the entire way. You have access to me for 90 days. So if you do have a weight loss goal, if you are struggling to reach your goal and you don't know what to do next, what I would recommend is just send me a message and just ask me to send you some more details about the program. And I'll send them your way. And if it resonates and you want to learn more, we can connect, talk a little bit more about you, figure out if there is a possibility of my helping you. And let's see if there is anything else. Andrea said, thank you, Haley. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for watching. I think that's it. I think that's a wrap. That was a long one, but it's an important one. So there you have it. Have a fantastic weekend. And I will see you all next week. Next week is Q&A, by the way. So start thinking about your questions and send them my way, and we will get to them next week. Bye.